I won't lie, it's been a bit of a weird year for the UFC. Despite COVID waves being flatter than my reaction content on YouTube, we still have the UFC Apex for some reason. We had a lot of very one-sided fights that won Fight of the Night awards for some reason. Oh, and also that small matter of the WWE UFC merger. What a time to be a fan of muscular men slapping each other's meat about. I don't do year-end top 10 wrestling match lists because there's a ton of other YouTube channels that do it better, but I still have some yearly traditions to keep in these top 10s. Despite it being an odd year, there was thankfully at least 10 solid fights for me to talk at you about while you listen to this in the background and focus on doing something meaningful with your life. I want to get through a few honourable mentions before I start with the main list. Nazim Sadikov vs Vladislav Borshov, Marvin Vettori vs Jared Cannonier, Jack Della Maddalena vs Basil Hafez, Manuel Cut vs Felipe dos Santos, and Alex Caceres vs Daniel Pineda. All solid fights, all worth your attention. Go watch them if you can find the time. But for now, these are my 10 favourite UFC fights of 2023. Number 10, Nazim Sadikov vs Evan Elder. Right out the gate, this fight has two major things going against it. Those things are the fact that it was on the pissing Apex Center, and the fact that it ended in a doctor stoppage, which is more excusable, but if there were a crowd there to boo, I'd be booing with them. But that aside, the 2 and a bit rounds we get are fucking great. Constant pressure and smart striking from both men who hit hard at fast volumes, a genuinely close 10 minutes of action, and two respectful young talents putting on a hell of a show for nobody. Again, it's a shame about the Apex thing, but as a showcase of a pair of very talented prospects, it's an excellent watch. Number 9, Elvis Brenner vs Guram Kutataladze. If it seems like I'm trying to get the UFC Apex fights out of the way, then well done, you caught on. Thankfully, this is the last one on this list, and thankfully, it is an absolute banger. I'm not normally a proponent of a late comeback after being down most of the fight, but the win that Elvis gets to close the fight out in the third gives me that punch in the air happiness feeling. It helps that the fight is pretty even going into the third, filled with Guram's clean striking, solid grappling from Brenner, and great clean striking from both men, but seeing him bloodied up and tired and getting that one shot in reminded me of just how badass and cool the sport can be sometimes. Number 8, Chris Curtis vs Kelvin Gastelum. Thank goodness that these last 8 entries are filled with crowds because crowds were a precious, weird commodity in the UFC in 2023. But I can't lie, there's something about seeing a crowd enjoying both fighters that increases my enjoyment of said fight. Considering that this is Kelvin's first fight since August 2021 and he's against a tough SOB and Chris Curtis, I'm glad that this fight rolled as hard as it did. The two men knocked lumps off each other, staying in the pocket with fantastic boxing and mixing up well. There's barely a dull moment across the 15 minutes, and it's easily one of the closest UD wins of the year, as well as one of the best fights in my humble opinion. Number 7, Irina Aldana vs Carol Rosa. I can't be the only one who gets a bit annoyed at the lack of female fight of the year contenders, right? The only other fight besides this to get a fight of the night was Mackenzie Dern vs Angela Hill, but thankfully this one is way better than that one. It's one of the best technical fights of the year, but with a good thread of Carol mixing things up before Irina really starts putting a boxing together, turning it into a fascinating slow burn war as it goes. It remains a close fight all in all, and while I still think Carol won the first round, this was a lot of fun to watch. Just two women who are good at striking, doing really good striking, with a good bit of blood to mix things up as the fight reaches its closing moments. Number 6, Marc-Andre Barriault vs Eric Anders. Ah, Canada, the land of the moose and the home of the syrup. A fight like this is great not just because it's great, although it is, but because of the crowd being molten hot for the first UFC card in the land of Tim Hortons in, no joke, 4 years. Now, while the accidental groin strikes in round 2 do hurt the fight a bit, everything else is great from Mark pressuring Eric to Eric countering Mark and getting in some really good wrestling. It's a really good back and forth between two dudes swinging as hard as they can, again with a really great amount of crowd involvement and some genuinely nice respect. Good at the office. Number 5, Brad Katona vs Cody Gibson. And now we go from big men trying to kill each other to smaller men trying to kill each other, but faster. There is also a little bit of history making here as Brad became the first person to win the Ultimate Fighter tournament twice, so congrats to him. And he did it with a banger in the finals against teammate Cody Gibson, two respectable bantamweights who came to win a tournament of a tough season that nobody watched. I mean, even I didn't review it, so. This was such a fucking good fight that built up well as it went along, showcasing a lot of fast action that's worth rewinding to see what you miss. It's just 15 minutes of fun striking, good grappling, and hopefully Brad does some more good stuff with his second chance. Number 4, Justin Gaethje vs Rafael Fiziev. You know there's not a top 10 UFC list by me if I don't give my award for best mad bastard fight, and you're damn right it's this gem from early in the year. And considering that Fiziev and Gaethje are two of the most violent KO artists in the lightweight division, this was guaranteed fireworks. The only thing that brings it down slightly was that it wasn't a 5-rounder, because could you fucking imagine? I want them to run those back, oh my god. Anyway, yeah, super hard-hitting action by two men with little regard for their safety is my cup of tea, and I just love the warrior mentality. I'm a big fan of turn brain off and watch men do fighty fight, and this was the best example of that possibly in the entire year? Who knows? Number 3, Max Holloway vs Chan Sung Jung. Well, here we go with this one. I'm aware that the top 10 lists are or should be about one's personal bias, and looking back on it, there is something bittersweet about seeing the Korean zombie having to retire at the age of only 36. But like Dan Henderson before him, the man went out on a proper war. As a fight, I do think it ends a bit early with the third round knockout, but Bless and TKZ put on a clinic before that point. More than just the moves though, with the heart-clutching emotion and knowledge that it would be the zombie last fight, and he didn't back down from Max, leaving up to his namesake until Max got that fatal headshot in the third to put an end to the zombie's career. A great fight, an emotional ending, and a sincere thank you to one of my favourite fighters to ever walk in the UFC octagon, Chan Sung Jung, the zombie. May you live forever. Number 2, Brandon Moreno versus Alexandre Pantoja 2. Oh, you thought we were done feeling our feelings today. My sweet child, we have not yet begun. Brandon Moreno may just be the most naturally endearing good boy of the UFC right now, and here he was defending the flyweight title against the man who sent him packing from the UFC before he returned. And as much as I like Pantoja, and I do, I can't lie that my heart did break when he was crowned the new champ via split decision. I'd be more mad if it weren't an absolute clinic with fantastic striking, close submissions, and genuine haunt-the-throat moments that made me cheer all the more for Moreno. They better run this one back next year. They need to. I need to see these two go at it again. I need to see Brandon crowned again. Oh, yes, please, 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 please. Please, UFC, please. Number 1, Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. So now that we're done feeling our emotional feelings, let's feel our big fight feelings. So often the UFC tries to promise something huge with a fight of this magnitude and it rarely delivers, but modern day GOAT and featherweight kingpin Alexander Volkanovski versus the newly minted lightweight champion Islam Makhachev in his first defense was a tantalizing prospect on its own. And as recompense for the fans' patience, they got a 25-minute classic in 2023. Fantastic striking, great grapples, nice clinch work, a volcanic Australian crowd who are fully behind their hometown hero in Volkanovski. It all just really worked for me. This is exactly what a big elite fight should feel like. Two champions leaving their hearts and souls in the octagon, and it proved that Islam truly was legit as well. A fantastic fight between two great champions. Long may they both reign. And that'll about do it for this list. The next thing you'll see me for will probably be another Music of the Week episode on Thursday, but I'm not really looking to get up to a whole bunch. I'm not going to be doing any reactions on Friday, but I will still be doing a PPW vs. APW show on that night. And at some point early next year, you will expect my top 30 albums of 2023, so that'll be a lot of fun to do. But I hope you enjoy this one, and if you saw any of these fights, I hope you enjoyed them, and if you haven't, go watch them, especially, well, all of them, really. And I'll see you all most likely on Thursday. And I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Just have a good holidays tomorrow, and have a really good New Year. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.